Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is starting to reject from my exact area of resistance, while we've just now taken out this massive area of liquidity in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. So due to these reasons, I've now taken massive profits on my Bitcoin long position here. So in just a moment, I'll be giving you an update on my exact Bitcoin trading strategy alongside Ethereum getting closer towards confirming potentially a major warning signal, which could trap a lot of altcoin holders and traders. So definitely pay attention to this, alongside Chainlink also getting close to confirming the same warning signal. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But of course, on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a major bearish divergence to watch out for, which is technically still confirmed on the weekly Bitcoin price chart once again. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, at least as of right now, we're still kind of lacking momentum to either direction, at least relative to the 3-day time frame. So of course, on smaller time frames, we can see short-term bearish trends or short-term bullish trends. But as of right now, we're kind of in a bit of a sideways consolidation, as we could see on these slightly larger timeframes, at least in the somewhat shorter term relative to the 3-day time frame. And so basically, I'd not be expecting a major move on the price chart like this or like this, for example, at least as of right now, based on the current momentum once again. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, just over the last few hours, over the last one day, we've now run into my exact area of resistance here that I've been warning about here on the channel, sitting in between roughly 120,000 towards around 122k, 123k. So basically in that area right there, as I've been saying here on the channel for quite a while now, expect a lot of resistance, which means expect the price to struggle or possibly reject from around that area. And obviously, just like how we perfectly bounced from my exact level of support here at 112,000, we're now once again rejecting from my exact area of resistance that I've been warning about. So of course, definitely keep an eye on support and resistance, where the price is most likely going to struggle at or turn around at, as we can see on the price chart. And so if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 8-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can also see at the same time as we're running into very significant resistance in the low 120k area, we were also reaching overbought in the 8-hour Bitcoin RSI, which is a sign that we've basically gone too far to the upside too quickly, and we now need some time to cool off to reset the RSI. And usually this happens in the form of either a pullback in the price or at best a bit of a sideways consolidation. And now, technically speaking, we've not yet confirmed a reversal from this short-term bullish trend into now a new short-term bearish trend. We have to wait for some bearish price structure to actually start confirming, like for example, lower highs or lower lows, like what we saw back here once we started to form some, for example, lower lows, lower highs. That was bearish price structure, pointing towards a bit more of a bearish trend to play out over the next couple of weeks or so. And then of course, close to 1 week ago now, right down here, we saw some bullish price structure starting to form for the first time in multiple weeks, like higher lows and higher highs. And ever since then, technically, we have been in a short-term bullish trend. And so due to all of this information right here, of course, as I've been sharing very transparently here on the channel for almost a week now, for around 5 days now here on the channel, I've been longing the price of Bitcoin since about this point right here, when we confirmed some new bullish price structure in the short term. At that point, I shared here on the channel that I'm longing Bitcoin. And then every day since then, I've been saying here on the channel, I'll be looking to close a portion of the trade at each point of resistance along the way towards the upside, taking a little bit of profits here and there along the way towards the upside. But I've also been saying, especially as we get closer towards around 120,000, 121,000, 122,000, around that major area of resistance here, around those price levels, once again, I've been saying before we hit those levels, I'll be targeting those levels right there to take a lot of profits out of my Bitcoin long position. And so as always, I put my money where my mouth is. I backed my own analysis. And as you can see right here, this is an update on my current Bitcoin long position. So at one point, this was a $1 million Bitcoin long position. And of course, in my last video, it was slightly under $1 million. It was like 800,000 or something like that Bitcoin long position. And so by yesterday and the day before, I had already taken a small amount of profits out of this position. But once again, like I've been saying over the last half a week, once we get closer towards around 121k, give or take 120k, I'll be locking in some decent profits, closing a lot of the trade around around that level, which is exactly what I did here. And so currently the majority of this long position is now closed, as we can see. So technically I am still in the long position, but it's now only a $200,000 Bitcoin long position. So once again, the majority of the trade is now closed, and I closed and took a lot of profits at around 120K, 121K, basically right around this high, exactly where I said I would for the last half a week or so. And so as of recording this video, this long position is roughly around $6,000 in unrealized profit still, but now secured over $24,000 in realized profit. So overall, this one small quick Bitcoin long position basically making easily 30,000 USD in profits in under a week. And even in the worst case scenario, if the price just keeps dumping right now, once again, I've already secured a bunch of easy profits out of this trade. And also based on where my stop loss is sitting at in profits above my entry price here, of course, even in the worst case scenario, that would also secure another approximately $2,500 on top of that $24,000 in already secured profits. And so obviously congrats if you took this trading opportunity, because you should be making some decent profits right now based on the trade that I've been sharing since back down here around 5 days ago. And my trading strategy moving forward for this trade right here is to basically just leave it as it is right now. So if the price just dumps all the way back down, once again, they'll hit the stop loss and close the trade for good in some massive profits here. But if the price actually bounces before hitting the stop loss, obviously they'll just head further towards the upside again. And I am still to some degree long on the price of Bitcoin. Obviously it's not currently $1 million long, but it's still a 200K long, which would still make some decent profits even if we see more bullish price action later on. But if you missed this trading opportunity right here, do not worry. I will be sharing any future trade that I make here on this channel very transparently, completely for free, by the way, when a lot of other people actually charge for this information. So I'll be sharing it completely for free. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos. And of course, if you want to take trades just like this to make a lot of very easy profits in the crypto market, like what I'm doing right now, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking this trade right here over on BTNX. So I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take it to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading and deposit bonuses. For example, up to $40,000 in trading bonuses. And also if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BTNX account. But these bonuses here are only available if you use that first link below this video to actually make your BTNX account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using that first link below this video to take advantage of these major bonuses here. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also PioNX as another exchange out there that I also use. And I've shared this exchange in the past over a year ago now on the channel. And it is one of the biggest exchanges out there, which you can access without KYC. And obviously if you KYC, you get larger limits on your account. But with PioNX, you can actually set up automated trading bot strategies, which I will be talking more about in the coming days and weeks, because this is actually something where you can make a lot of easy profits in crypto very passively without making basically much actual active trades here. You can just set it up in the background and have it running. And so this type of thing is actually perfect for if we're in a bit of a sideways price range, bouncing around sideways. You can set up what's called a grid bot trading strategy to make a lot of easy and passive profits during a sideways price range. And once again, I'll talk more about that in later videos in the coming days and weeks here. And so once again, if you want to check out PioNX, also a no KYC exchange, that second link below this video will take it to this sign up page where you can take a look at PioNX if you want to. But if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map over the last 1 day or so, we've now successfully wiped out that major area of liquidity that was sitting at roughly around 120,000. And so obviously it took quite some time. We ultimately saw that pullback before hitting that level, and then finally a recovery, a short-term bullish trend. But now that we've wiped out that liquidity at 120,000, obviously it caused a little bit of a short squeeze here, as a bunch of short positions would have been wiped out at that level, which pushes the price a little bit higher in the short term, like for example up towards around 122k. But we have to now be aware of the fact that we no longer have liquidity above the price. We've already used up that liquidity, which was basically one of the driving factors pushing the price or dragging the price further towards the upside towards this liquidity. But now that that is gone, gone. And of course, now that we're running into very significant resistance, once again, due to these reasons, I've taken significant profits out of my Bitcoin long position in case we just see a further rejection back towards the downside. And so once again, we've not yet technically confirmed a reversal out of this short-term bullish price structure. But with that being said, as I've been saying throughout this entire short-term bullish move, of course, I've been saying it is a short-term bullish move, a short-term bullish trend, not a long-term trend. Because if we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, once again, we still have a bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, which will likely play out over the next multiple months. Once again, not a short-term signal over multiple months. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, like I said earlier, we're still lacking momentum, which means we should not really be expecting a massive move towards the upside, maybe just some short-term price action as we have seen as expected. And so those are all of the things that I'm watching for Bitcoin. And of course, my exact Bitcoin trading strategy, obviously working out very well, as you can see right here. Hopefully you've been following along. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the 3-day time frame, we can see that right now the Bitcoin dominance is actually still holding on to this area of support. And we never actually confirmed a 3-day candle close below this area of support. We confirmed it basically right on the lower level of the area of support here, in between around 60.5% to 61%, and the latest 3-day candle close confirmed at pretty much exactly 60.5%. And so this could potentially be a warning signal for the altcoin market if we continue holding onto this area of support. Once again, keep an eye on what the Bitcoin dominance is doing if we see a dump that's bullish for altcoins. But now if the Bitcoin dominance continues finding support along this area, maybe sees a little bit of a bounce, not only are we still holding onto this area of support, we also have a possible bullish divergence on the 3-day Bitcoin dominance. As we can see, we already have confirmed lower lows in the candle closes in the price, and we're potentially forming higher lows in the 3-day RSI. And so if this possible bullish divergence that is currently forming, if that actually confirms in the coming days with this next 3-day candle close, or in another couple of 3-day candle closes here, if this short-term bullish divergence confirms for the Bitcoin dominance, that will officially now invalidate this bearish divergence, pointing towards maybe a little bit of a short-term bullish relief in the Bitcoin dominance, which would be bad for the altcoins, at least in the shorter term, while that is playing out, once again, if it first confirms. And so this could possibly form a bit of a trap for the altcoin holders, the altcoin traders out there, because obviously a lot of people have been getting very excited with a lot of the bullish price action in the altcoin market over the last few days or so. But we need to be aware of these possible warning signals that could catch a lot of people off guard. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Ethereum price chart, we've now technically confirmed the breakout for Ethereum with a 3-day candle close above this very significant area of resistance, sitting in between around 3.9k to 4.1k. So in terms of the price structure, obviously this is extremely bullish for Ethereum in terms of the larger trend or the larger price structure. But it's possible we could now retest this area to potentially test it as new support. And of course, for the bulls out there, we need to now hold above this area as new support in order to actually further confirm this breakout here. Because of course, if we break back below this area with candle closes back below roughly 3.9k, then that would be a bearish signal, essentially invalidating the breakout, and once again causing a possible trap in the altcoin market right here, trapping buyers at these higher prices. But right now, I would now expect support in this area in between around 3.9k to 4.1k based on previous resistance flipping into new support. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, we're getting extremely close now to possibly confirming a bearish divergence again. And obviously we did see a small little bearish divergence here that did confirm, as we can see, lower highs in the RSI and higher highs in the price, and that played out in the form of a short-term pullback for around half a week, almost 1 week. And if you're here on the channel a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that I actually shorted that move right there from roughly 3.8k towards roughly 3,500 is where I closed that trade to secure some easy profits on that little pullback right there. And obviously, if you want to actually see those trades for yourself, I did share them very transparently as always here on this channel. So just go back on my channel, watch my last few videos over the last few weeks, and you'll see those short positions which I opened and closed in profits. And I'm just letting you know in advance that I might do a similar thing because we're potentially about to confirm a bearish divergence. Once again, I'm not doing it just yet. I'm not opening a new trade just yet. But if we confirm this bearish divergence here, I may look at potentially another little short position for Ethereum to short maybe another little pullback right here. Now, not necessarily a major crash or anything, but we might see a bit of a pullback if this confirms, kind of like what we saw back here or back here, for example. And so that's why I said earlier, if this confirms here, it's possible we could see a little pullback back down towards this area to maybe retest this area. And then it's also possible we maybe find support in that area, further confirming the larger bullish breakout. But in the shorter term, this may point towards a bit of a short-term pullback that we need to consider. And especially if we're taking a look at, once again, the Bitcoin dominance, if this bounces here in the short term, and if we're taking a look at the ETH BTC chart, Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the daily time frame, we're also just about to confirm a bearish divergence for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which basically means, and I explained this in my last video, it basically means that Ethereum will likely be underperforming whatever Bitcoin is doing just in the shorter term, as in over the coming days or possibly weeks. And so if this chart is bearish, if Ethereum will be underperforming Bitcoin maybe over the next week, give or take, and if Bitcoin itself is struggling a little bit around this very significant resistance and Ethereum is doing a bit worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing, obviously this suggests that Ethereum may end up seeing a bit of a pullback within the next 1 week or so. And so due to all of these reasons, once again, I'm now looking towards potentially another short position for Ethereum, just a short-term trade, maybe for a week, give or take, kind of like this short-term long position that I've had here for Bitcoin. And so once again, I'm just letting you know in advance that I am looking towards that, but it's not currently confirmed. I'm still waiting for a little bit more confirmation here. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, it's a similar situation for Solana. Obviously, in the immediate short term, we're starting to slow down this short-term bullish relief alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously having slight little rejections in the short term. And overall, Solana is very much lacking momentum on the price chart, really to either direction. And I've been saying this the entire short-term bullish relief right here. I've been saying don't expect significant momentum towards the upside. That's very unlikely going to happen. What's much more likely is just a slight bullish relief, slowly drifting towards the upside, basically following what Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing, etc. But obviously, if the Bitcoin dominance continues bouncing from this support right here, possibly forming a bullish divergence, that is not good news for the altcoin market, at least in the short term. So especially, for example, if Ethereum sees a slight little pullback, that could affect Solana and other altcoins in the market just in the coming days or possibly weeks here. And so it's possible Solana comes back down to retest this level of support right here, sitting at around 167, but really in between 167 to 170, I would expect some support around there. But if we break below that level, expect more support at around 156 and major support in between around 143 to 146. And in terms of resistance, we do have some major resistance at just above 180 and significant resistance in between around 190 to 200. But overall, honestly, just expect a lack in momentum to either direction for the price of Solana, which means most likely relatively neutral price action. Yes, short-term bullish price action, short-term bearish price action, but overall in a bit of a sideways price range, bouncing around sideways kind of like this will be a likely scenario moving forward over the coming days or weeks. And if we're taking a look at XRP on the weekly time frame, we technically still have a massive bearish divergence on the weekly XRP price chart, which is already confirmed. And so yes, we can see short-term bullish price action from time to time. And yes, that short-term bullish price action can even play out over a week or even 2 weeks. But for example, looking at this larger price structure, the larger bearish divergence, at least as of right now, once again, this is still pointing towards a bit more of a slowdown or possibly a larger pullback in the coming months. Once again, it's not a short-term signal, but throughout, let's just say later this month or throughout September, October, we'll likely see potentially more bearish price action for XRP and other coins like this that have a bearish divergence. And if we're zooming into the daily time frame, we can see that right now, of course, the price is still trying to play out little bounces here and there. And of course, over the last 1 week, we did see a large bounce in the short term, but overall, this is potentially just a short-term bounce during larger bearish price structure, kind of like what we saw back here earlier in the year, around January, entering into February this year. At least as of right now, the current price structure looks very, very similar to what we saw back here, as we could see. And of course, back then during, let's just say February this year, we did see some decent bounces back towards the upside, major bullish moves in the price of XRP, but that was during a much larger bearish movement, a larger bearish price structure, as we can see right here. So at least over the next couple of months, it is still looking likely based on the current price structure that we maybe see a little bit more of a pullback of some sort. But once again, in the short term, from time to time, we can see some decent bounces even during a larger bearish move. And if we're taking a look at support and resistance levels, levels. Right now, we're running into a bit of support at close to 315, and I've been saying that as support at around 310 to 315 as a major level of support. But if we break below that level, expect significant support at around $2.90 to almost $3 as very important support. But if we break below, especially $2.90 with candle closes below that level, in that situation, I'll be targeting around $2.75, and below that, we have a very significant area on the price chart in between around $2.55 to $2.62. And as for resistance, I'll be focusing on roughly $3.35 to $3.40. And of course, just over the last few days or so, we've seen multiple perfect rejections from that area of resistance that I've been warning about. So continue to expect a lot of resistance at that area, close to 340. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the daily time frame, Chainlink, like Ethereum, recently confirmed a breakout above a very significant area on the price chart, but is possibly coming in for a slight retest here. Obviously, we are seeing a slight little pullback in the short term, but the larger price structure is technically still bullish, as we have confirmed a major breakout, forming a new higher high in the price after obviously forming a higher low bullish price structure. And so I'll now expect support in this area based on previous resistance flipping into new support, especially around that $20 level. That $20 level is key on the price chart. That is key support to pay attention to, but really in between around $20 to $21 is the area of support that I'll be watching. And right now we're almost testing $21 and currently finding a small amount of support around this area so far. And in terms of the next major price target towards the upside, that's sitting at around $24, but between the current price and $24, we could find some short-term resistance at around $22.50. Like I said in my last video, we're running into that short-term resistance at around $22.50, give or take. And so far, we have found some short-term resistance at that level. And also very similar to Ethereum, we now technically have a bearish divergence on the daily time frame, close to confirming but not yet confirmed. So it's basically formed at this point, but once again, we're still waiting for confirmation, which means we need to confirm the lower high in place in the daily RSI. And for that, we need to confirm at least one, but ideally a couple of candle closes in the red on the daily time frame to actually confirm the lower high in place in the RSI, confirming the bearish divergence. And the last bearish divergence we saw like this on the daily Chainlink price chart was back here near the end of 2024. And obviously the outcome of that was indeed a bearish outcome, which is obviously one of the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. We usually end up seeing some sort of pullback of some sort in the price in terms of the larger move here. But once again, I want to make this clear, at least as of right now, we've not yet confirmed this bearish divergence. It's just possibly getting close to confirming. And if it does confirm, especially if the bearish divergence for Ethereum confirms, once again, I may look towards maybe taking a small short position, just trading maybe a short-term pullback in the price like what we saw here or here, for example. And we could possibly see something similar for Chainlink, maybe just retesting this area on the price chart. Once again, if it confirms, I want to make that clear, it is not yet confirmed. And remember, if you want to take any trades just like this for yourself to make a lot of easy profits in the crypto market, make sure to check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you're going to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade moves just like this for yourself to make a lot of profits in the crypto market, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.